What up, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy P. Skip. Welcome to the best half hour of your entire Tuesday. You know what time it is. It's time to get into his course. My squad with me, T-Mac.
Hola.
Chili Will.
Gracias, amigo.
Let's do this. James, 119 in the Amplified says, understand this, my beloved brothers and sisters. Let everyone be quick to hear, be careful and thoughtful to listen, slow to speak, a speaker of careful, chosen words, and slow to anger, patient and reflective and forgiving. Now, I said that because Brett Favre was recently crushed for his awful take on Deshaun Watson's trade demand. For those of you who don't know, Deshaun Watson is a quarterback of the Texas,
Houston, Texas.
Right. Houston, Texas, correct. Thank you. And Brett Favre made the comment that, listen, you know, they're paying you a lot of money, so you just need to play and stay with where you are, you know, because that's the way. Matter of fact, this is what he said. Brett Favre said, you get paid a ton of money to do a certain job and just do it and let the chips fall where they may. I think we make too much money to voice our opinion, but I'm not saying he's wrong. Again, I think it's different. It's a different day and time. And it's really interesting to see how the organization will handle it. Brett, listen, bro. First of all, you did the same stuff to the Packers. You did the exact same stuff to the Packers. And here's what happened when you said all that foolishness. You got to look at what you got dealt, the hand he got dealt. Brett, when you was playing with the Packers, you didn't have what you needed to win. So what they do? They went and got Reggie Jackson. They went and got
Reggie White.
I'm sorry. Reggie White. Man. They went and got Andre Rison. They went and got all these players for you to win a championship. On the flip side, what they did to Watson was they got rid of all of his players. They got rid of his number one receiver and didn't refill it with anything. They just kind of like, you know, we're going to make this a rebuilding season, rebuilding years for him. And as a young quarterback, and you didn't talk to him about, then you got a new coach, didn't talk to him about that either. You know, and so he sees I'm not valued. If I was valued, you talk to me about it. If I was valued, you wouldn't have got rid of receivers that we had a connection with on and off, and we were doing great together. So, you know, I see where Deshaun Watson, and to be frankly, when you see that a team or an organization is going south, if you're not willing to go south with him, leave. That's everybody's prerogative. If you work a 9 to 5 and you don't like your job, you have the option of going and getting you another job. Why is that different? Because you're making millions. If you want a new job, go get another job. You know, so listen, Will, we ain't heard from you in a minute, so why don't we go to you first?
Well, it's a lot to unpack with this Brett Favre situation, but you are exactly right. He needed Reggie White in order for him to win. They went and got Andre Bad Moon Rison, right, to come help him win, you know, and they had Desmond Howard, who was a Heisman Trophy winner, to help him win, and then he wound up winning, but he didn't win many, you know. He didn't win. How many did he win? One. He won one. So same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks, and he only has thrown one pass to a first-round draft pick receiver in his 13-year career, 15-year career.
Yep.
So what this says to me is that some organizations are running these organizations as strictly businesses. They want to profit. They want butts and seats. They want to sell merchandise. They want all the parking money, so on and so forth. And as long as they're making a profit, they're really not interested in paying the level of money that you have to pay to get the level of talent that you have to win championships. I think Jerry Jones in Dallas is a prime example.
Yeah.
They're not trying to win championships because if they were, they got enough money to go get the people they need to win. Jerry Jones is making $1 zillion off Cowboys merchandise, packing that stadium, TV and cable contracts. So they running it as business. And I think the Houston Texans is just showing their hand that we're not serious about winning. We just want to profit and run a good business. And I think at that point, when you have players who have a different sentiment than what you have, then they get to exercise their options within or outside of the contract. Deshaun Watson can say, you know what? Y'all can keep that little money. I'm not going to play. He can force their hand just like somebody just did. And where's that? Somebody just forced their way out. Oh, James Harden forced his way out of Houston the exact same way. Exact same way. So the players have more control and more influence than they had during the Brett Favre era. I understand what Brett Favre is saying, but it's a different day and time.
Right. I agree. Go ahead, Tim.
I would have to agree with that sentiment as well. What you talked about, Pastor Skip. Brett Favre, I think, was out of order. For that, he gave a little bit of a mea culpa by saying, "Well, hey, it could be a different era. I don't think he's wrong." He said that on the back end because he knew he was kind of talking out of turn. And as a former player, it's one thing for you to have a different kind of philosophical mentality, but you understand the grind, the grind and the grit and the brutality of football. You should be pro player as a former player who set records for being the Iron Man and all this kind of stuff. So I think it was, kind of out of order. I think the other piece to it is that we are in a different day and age where you have players who are brands in and of themselves. And if I'm, you know what I mean? So if I'm part of an organization that is supposedly about winning, that I can also leverage a brand with, and you begin to do things that are contrary to that, I'm well within my rights and my means to speak up because I have those options. DeAndre Hopkins was an all-pro receiver. Deshaun Watson has been one of the most successful young quarterbacks in the game, going to the playoffs just about every year except for this year after his talent was depleted. And he was doing it almost as a magician, with those guys because he wasn't necessarily thought of as the best quarterback coming out of Clemson, despite the fact that he had won a championship there. But some of that has to do with sometimes black quarterbacks not getting their just due. They never would have done something like that to a Peyton Manning or anybody like that. They always try to surround them with as much talent as possible to help them be as successful as possible. The Brett Favre example that you guys talked about was a prime example of that as well. Now you got a brother who not only did you not give me all the pieces that I needed, the ones that I did have that we've shown and proven that we can jam with, you take them away. So what else am I left to deal with? I thought we had an agreement that we would do this thing together, that we would share. You're showing me that you don't really care nothing about me. So if I reciprocate that and say, well, I don't care nothing about you either, because you showed me that's where we are now, I can go ahead and do that. In fact, scuttlebutt is that even JJ Watt is now talking about, hey man, these jokers is out of order. And if they're going to handle you like that, I'm not going to sit for that either. I might want to bounce as well. So I think that he was well within his means to say, hey, if you're not going to give me what I need to be successful, I might need to go elsewhere and we might need to just part ways. That's okay. This is a business. Ownership always talks about, hey, the bottom line, this was a business. Okay, you drilled that into our heads enough now. We understand that business is business, ain't personal. This is business, and I have to consider what's in the best business interest for me because it looks like you all did what you thought was in the best business interest for you.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, let me add to that. Let me add to that, Skip. You mentioned JJ Watt.
Mm-hmm.
The Houston Texans got rid of Giovanni Clowney, who's a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Almost first. He was the first pick, I think, in the draft.
I believe so, in his draft class.
And they did not want to pay him, and they got rid of him, which was right there the first red flag that we're not serious about business. Because if you got Clowney and you got JJ Watt on both of your ends, that's havoc for any team. So they showed their hand when they got rid of him and didn't want to pay him.
Excellent point.
Great point. And what's crazy is, JJ Watt went up to Deshaun and apologized. Said, dude, I apologize for them wasting your talent like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what he said to him. And so, Brett Favre has lost a lot of respect from that comment, not only from current players, but even former players are like, listen, we've lost respect for you. And, thinking of respect, recently I don't know if you guys know, but Brett Reed, which is Andy Reid's son, has gotten into some serious situations. He was in a car accident in which there was two vehicles parked or on the side of the road on the on-ramp to the freeway. He gets on the on-ramp and hits those two vehicles. As a result, both of them had children in the back. One child went to the hospital, was released. The other child is in critical condition. And so, and the officer on duty said that he smelled like alcohol and his eyes were bloodshot red. Now, I said all that to say because of this remind me of Proverbs 22:1, which says in the Amplified, a good name earned by honorable behavior and godly wisdom, moral courage, and personal integrity is more desirable than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold. His dad has developed a great name. His dad has developed a name that is respected throughout the league, respected throughout sports, even respected in Philadelphia, where he left as a quarterback, as a coach. Now he done won championship. I done brought you on. You are now, you also, he's in the hospital. Brett is in the hospital right now and cannot go. This happens the week before the Super Bowl. The week before the Super Bowl, and you can't go. You know, that just wrecked the Reed name. And here's the thing. This family already has a history of drug abuse. His brother, Brett's brother, died of a heroin overdose, in which he smuggled heroin into the prison. You know, and so they already got drug issues in it, and you want to mess with alcohol, and they said alcohol and prescription drugs. So, you know, here's a situation where I'm like, dude, you may not care about your name, but do you at least care about the name that I have? I tell my kids all the time, however you represent in the streets, remember, you're not representing your name, you representing my name. And the Henderson name means something. So don't be going out there messing it up and destroying my name. And so, you know, this time, Tim, I'll let you hit it first, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things on that, first of all, just for Andy Reid himself, and you hit the nail on the head. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches and loving favor rather than silver and gold. So for the name to take a hit like that is very unfortunate. The different challenges they've already had, the drug piece with the other brother, and now this, it's a terrible situation. Now, as far as Brett, obviously that was not the best judgment to do. We all had done some things that was kind of sucky that we, had to face some consequences for. Unfortunately for him, his consequences for his poor choices seem to be a bit more substantial and severe. That's terrible if the allegations of what the circumstances surrounding it are indeed true. So hopefully those other individuals, himself included, that were injured through this can pull through and there doesn't end up being any fatalities or any long-term deformities that folks that he hit or involved in this, were a part of. Now, as far as it being the Super Bowl Eve, if you are going to make a mistake, this ain't the time to be making the mistake on the Super Bowl Eve. Come on, man. That's unfortunate. Andy Reid himself as a person seems to be, from all accounts, from when he was an assistant, even like with Green Bay, head coaching at Philadelphia, giving folks like Donovan McNabb and others, the shot, Michael Vick, etc. He seems like he's a player's coach who is really, really cool and likes to be supportive of, the players. So it's unfortunate that him as a good coach and a father has to deal with some of the malfeasance that his sons have endured. I'm sure he thinks back, man, I know I taught y'all better than this. And unfortunately, the actions of our offspring aren't always a proper reflection of us and what we put into them, because each person has to live their own life as well. I'm sure he's afforded them every opportunity. Brett being on the staff of a Super Bowl winning team is exhibit A of that. It's just an unfortunate situation all around. And it's a very unenviable position. I'll say it like that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Will.
Well, I'll say this. I'm going to take a more lighter approach.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say that as individuals, as adults, we're responsible for our own behavior.
Mhm.
So I blame Brett individually for his misconduct, for his bad decision making, and for him putting himself and other citizens, other individuals' health and well-being in jeopardy by doing something that he knew may be dangerous, which was mixing alcohol with a prescription drug. Now, right now, that's the information that's out there. That's what we've been hearing on the news outlets. So those are the facts as we know them right now. Something else might come out in the end. And I'll say this about his father. I'm sure that Andy Reid has given his son every opportunity to be successful, even more than most sons would get just because of the position that he's in. He's an NFL coach. I would say that the odds are the young Reid may not have gotten the opportunity that he got, but for the Reid name. Now, I'm not saying that it was straight nepotism. I'm quite sure he has some skills and talent. I'm sure he does. But to get this opportunity at this higher level, I think you can attribute a lot of that to who his dad is and the success of his dad. But I hold him as an individual responsible for his actions. If anything comes from this, if there's any lawsuits, if there's any type of collateral on this, Andy Reid will feel bad. Andy Reid will be sad. But Brett Reid will be in trouble, and he'll have to deal with the psychological and the mental anguish that, if you kill somebody, especially an innocent child, that has to be tormenting. So he will have to deal with that. So that's kind of my position on this. Unfortunate for his dad, but I don't think his dad should take too much responsibility because really he hasn't done anything wrong. And a lot of people would say that he's gone above and beyond in providing opportunity for his son.
Yeah, I agree. Nobody thinks that this is on Andy. Not at all. Your son's 35. He's full grown.
Yeah.
But for me, it's Andy Reid's name took a hit.
Yeah.
And for me, think about where Andy is mentally. I'm supposed to be preparing for a Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I got to deal with you.
Yeah.
So
but it's a pastor, it's a level of selfishness and a entitlement that is lingering in this.
Oh, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I, if I say, hey, Will, listen, bro, we finna go to the Super Bowl. First of all, two things you cannot do. Don't get in trouble and don't get COVID. That's all I ask for you not to do.
Yeah.
Don't get in trouble and don't get COVID.
Yeah.
So stay in the house, order your food in, and don't leave it. Because you hanging out at bars, drink. Come on, bro.
When people are selfish and they don't have discipline, a lot of times they end up in situations like this. And it takes, one of the biggest ingredients in success is discipline. And right now, I think that's obviously lacking in this individual.
I agree. Well, listen, speaking of discipline and just kind of changing directions, man, recently Kevin Durant was taken off the basketball court in the middle of a game. In the middle of a game. What's crazy is, let me read the scripture and I'll go into it. 1 Thessalonians 5:12, New King James says this, and we urge you, brethren, to recognize those who labor among you and are over you in the name of the Lord and admonish you. Kevin Durant, it was a bizarre night. First of all, he was playing against Toronto Raptors, and because he had been around someone who could have been who might have been around people who had COVID, they were very iffy on whether or not he could play the game. So Kevin tested negative about 4 or 5 times, and the guy that he was around tested negative twice. So they tested that same guy during the game. He tested positive during the game, and because of contact, they yanked Kevin Durant during the third quarter, said, "You're done here. You got to leave." And so Kevin Durant's all upset, and he goes back and he tweets, "Free me, let me be free." And I'm looking at this, I'm like, bro, here's another situation. You just had an issue with COVID earlier that you lost some games for. And so you're around somebody who you don't know what they're doing. We know it's not your barber. We know he wasn't your barber because we see your hair. So who was you around?
Shots fired.
So who was you around?
I'll take hair like that if I can get a J like that.
Maybe that's why he shoots so well, because he has another eye on the top of his head that he can see his head. I'm like, man, that looks like that brother.
We ain't gonna kill him too tough for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Got the convertible on top. He got the convertible on top.
Hey, Tim, it's cold outside and it's cold inside.
Hey, listen, bro. I can deal with Kevin Durant having a convertible. That brother got a sunroof top. But anyway, I digress. And so he's upset because of, this whole, they pulled me in the middle of the game. Listen, here's the issue you have with this now. Everybody on your team and all the staff that was there has to be tested again. And everybody on Toronto's team and all their staff has to be tested again.
Yeah.
So they already just said, for the Philly game, your next game, you can't play, bro. Mm-hmm. So what does this mean for those teams? And understanding this, Kevin, because of COVID, everything's different. Everything's different. You understand last year that the bubble, you didn't play in it, but you understood what it meant. You've seen everybody else who went through it. So you have to understand that you got to be cautious. You don't get to live a regular life with this playing in the NFL, NBA, or MLB right now. Any professional sports, you don't get to have the same kind of life everybody else is having. You have to be set apart to do the job you need to do. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I was actually watching the game last night, and
he was hotter than fish grease.
I didn't know what the heck was going on. I didn't know what happened. I originally thought something happened to someone in his family. Right. That was my original thought, and then the people broadcasting the game shedded a little more light on the situation. Right. I think it's just, from a game standpoint, a lot of people, college, high school, pro. Even here in Milwaukee, we're not even having public school, high school basketball this year because of the pandemic. So it's a lot of people whose lives have to be interrupted and changed and adjusted because of this pandemic. So as far as the game is concerned, to me, that's just another log on the fire. What's problematic to me is the exposure to others. One of the reasons why I behave and act the way I behave when it comes down to COVID is not just for my own safety. It's because of the safety that I want to provide for others. I want to make sure that I don't make anyone, especially some of our senior citizens, sick. So I try to do everything I can to be safe, to protect myself, but also to protect others. So I understand that from the league standpoint, but this is a can of worms. I think personally that the next game should not have Kevin Durant in it, but it shouldn't have the Brooklyn Nets in it, period. Yeah. I think that next game should be canceled because we got to err on the side of safety, on the side of caution. And this is the first mishap we've had because of some of the things that we're dealing with COVID-19. But I guarantee you, it's not the last. There are going to be other things that's going to happen in basketball. There are going to be other things that's going to happen during the baseball season. That's going to be, look how many baseball games they lost this year. Because baseball, they played same team 3-4 days in a row. Look at all the games they lost this year because of COVID. So from that standpoint, it's kind of like, that's par for the course nowadays. But for for moving forward, I think the NBA should be as cautious as they can be.
Yeah, I would have to. I would agree as well. I think that maybe I would I would try to let the Nets still kind of play, but having them also miss this game against Philly, I think is not definitely off the table because they knew that the contact tracing was going on prior to him coming into the game, and that's why he didn't start. And as you talked about, Pastor Skip, he's already had an episode where he's had to be held off from games for some mandatory quarantines and all this kind of stuff. Hey, y'all know the routine. And this is not the end of the season. If y'all missing for a game, y'all got this powerhouse squad. Y'all still got Kyrie Irving and James Harden. Hey, KD, you have to sit this game all the way out from Jump Street. You shouldn't have been hanging out with who you've been hanging out. To Will's point, we've all had to have some disruption. This is leveled the playing field. Nobody gets any additional entitlement. This is a pandemic that we're all exposed to. And the league, I think last year with the bubble, probably did the best job out of all the professional sports anyway, with what they did with regards to innovative public health and safety precautions with the bubble, and were able to pull it off. So they should get the benefit of the doubt of, we know how to do protocols. We've taken everything into account. We've worked lockstep with the Players Association on what the agreements have been. This is how we have to abide for this time being. Insofar that such time comes that we can go ahead and loosen the reins a little bit, we'll holler at you then. Up until that time, sir, this is how we have to roll. You don't get any exceptions to this, because what you don't understand, talking about the point that you made earlier, Will, about selfishness and discipline. Hey, man, this is the whole league we're trying to play ball with. You're talking about getting your minutes in. We got 30-some teams, and we have some revenues that we're still trying to recoup from, and still trying to make this thing work as successfully as the bubble did. We can't have Mavericks going off the ranch, as it were. And if you do, because you grown, I'm just going to do what I want to do. Okay, you're going to force my hand to do what I want to do, which is sit your behind down. Now you can't play the next game. So you don't get full minutes in this game, and you don't get no minutes in the next one. So that wasn't a smart move, bruh. These are the rules. We've abided by them. We've agreed to them. Keep up your end of the bargain so that the greater good for the league and the safety of all the players and the rest of the attendant staff can be at paramount importance. You have to see that, or you're going to force our hand to be overly punitive to set an example for anybody else that might think that, hey, he got away with it, let me get away. No, man, we ain't playing no favorites. These are the guidelines that we have for this particular time. You got to roll as it is.
Yeah, for everybody.
For everybody. Exactly.
Yes.
You know, I'm wondering, if this starts to get bad, I'm just wondering if they're going to start making an East bubble and a West bubble. And these guys are going to have to start playing in a bubble. There may be one on, they might go back to that one in Orlando, and then Disney does their one in California as well. But they're not going to lose money. The league's not going to lose money, and they're not going to lose. And they saw that we can still have games. We can still get our television revenue if we do the bubble thing. But I got a feeling, this because there's already players already saying, listen, I don't even want to play in the All-Star game.
Right.
There's already guys like, listen, there's too much going on. I'd rather be with my family. So listen, another great show. Thank you for being here. Listen, tune in every Tuesday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. on Joy 1340 AM 98.7 FM. The number one faith-based sports talk show in the entire world. Into its courts. Until next week. Peace.